Hello everybody, it's Chris, aka Elfkin. I was posting recently about my love for my vintage Singer buttonhole maker that I always think kind of looks like old-time Star Trek communicator. And I always get lots of questions about how it works and what it does and why I love it. So I thought I would do a quick video to demonstrate how to use it to best effect. Before I take you over to the sewing machine here, I want to just say a few things about what I think you can do to make sure that you have the best possible machine buttonholes that you can. I think it's important that you have at least 3 layers of fabric that you're going to be working through when you make your buttonhole. So that's probably your inner and outer layer of like a placket or a waistband, and then some kind of liner or interfacing in between. I'll mention tearaway stabilizer a little bit later, and that's great to keep it stable when you're working that bit of the fabric through the machine that's under the buttonhole foot, but it won't really help if the fabric is too thin. So if you've got like just 2 layers of cotton voile or silk charmeuse and chiffon that you're thinking you can put a buttonhole in, I gotta say, any machine buttonhole, even this fancy old Singer one, is probably not going to be for you. It'll pucker the fabric and it probably won't give you the results that you're looking for. In that case, I'm sure the internet can help you find some information about maybe some hand-worked buttonholes or something else that you can use instead. But if you have like any kind of normal, button front shirt or pants, even a pair of jeans, the Singer buttonholer is really the way to go. There are some threads that you're going to have to choose from. Of course, you can use the thread that you might have used to close your seams and do your top stitching on the garment. I like to use this Gutermann Creative Silk 30 weight, or a similar product from Tier, another 30 weight silk that's great for this kind of work. You'll notice that there are also out there some heavier weight threads that will be sold as maybe silk twist or silk buttonhole or heavy duty buttonhole thread. They are, if you hold them up next to this 30 weight silk, they're quite a bit thicker. These are really meant for hand worked buttonholes. Don't put them in your machine. You can fiddle the bobbin tension, and you can get the almost right needle that'll take that thread, but it's not going to run smoothly. It's going to cause a lot of puckering. The thread tends to fray midway through, which can be really super frustrating. So yeah, just don't do that. When you're making buttonholes, stick with 30 weight silk from either Tier or from Gutermann. Those are going to be the best things to go with. All right, so let's put this on the machine and see what happens. All right, before I attach it to the machine, I want to show you a few features of these old Singer buttonhole feet. They are different than what you're used to if you have only ever used the buttonhole attachment on a modern zigzag machine. Obviously, because these attach to older straight stitch machines, there is no zigzagging. The foot itself is going to actually move back and forth. You'll see when I start demonstrating it, and it moves front to back, and that is how it's going to make the buttonhole on the material. It knows what buttonhole to make by using these special cogged jigs that go in the bottom of the buttonhole foot. You just push it up and flip it open like you saw me just do, and these slot right in here. They only go in one way. It's impossible to put them in the wrong way. So I've just slotted in a 1/2 inch. We close that up. On the side of the foot, there is a selector for the width of the stitch, W wide and narrow, so 1 to 6, narrow to wide is how that works. You've got this dial on the top that you can see moves the buttonhole forward and, or the foot forward and backward. The foot itself is on a flange, and on the bottom it's a little bit rough. It's got these rough little nubbly metallic feet. So now let's attach the foot. This is a process that is not complicated, but is also not entirely intuitive. So here's how you do it. You've got the little knob here that's on the back. You want to turn the knob. You guys all can see. You want to turn it until the foot is furthest back, right? So as much of it is under the whole contraption as is going to be. You want to do that and set that aside, because before we put the foot on here, we have to cover the feed dogs. If you're lucky enough to have a Singer 201 like I do, you can actually drop the feed dogs on it. Check your manual for the part on machine darning. That'll give you instructions on how to drop the feed dogs and not have them in the way, and it means you won't have to use this cover plate. But if you don't have a Singer 201 and you want to use one of these buttonhole feet, you're going to need to use this cover plate. It screws in here to the 2 screw holes that you know are on the bed of your machine, and you want to just kind of like get it just tight enough so it's not loosey-goosey, and then get it lined up so that the needle is passing through it cleanly without touching or brushing in any way, because if it touches or brushes in any way now, it is going to snap when you go to use the buttonhole foot later. So here this is attached and ready to go. And now let's put the buttonhole foot on itself. We have this part that's got like a little tine in it. This is gonna go around the needle bar, and then this other part here with the screw hole in it is gonna go onto the presser bar. So with the whole thing cranked back like I just showed you, you kind of just wiggle it on here so that this part goes around the needle screw, and the other part is lined up more or less with the screw hole on the presser foot. And now there's the screw for it, so I'm going to put that in there. Wiggle it around just a little bit to make sure that it's really flush against the presser bar, because sometimes it has a habit of not wanting to be. All right, now you'll notice there is no thread in the machine, and this is for a reason. I want to show you all something that I find very useful in my day-to-day work with this machine and this tool, and that is testing the thing that you're going to put the buttonhole in without any thread in it. If you've ever used a buttonhole foot, you know that they can be cantankerous and sometimes won't work. And unfortunately, sometimes you don't learn that it's not going to work on what it is that you want to sew until it's actually doing the sewing, which is a total nightmare. Unlike computerized buttonhole feet, the old-time buttonhole feet that work on these old vintage Singers and similar machines, they just do zigzag stitches. They don't do that tiny little box of straight stitches around first. So they're actually a lot easier to take the stitches out if you have to. But I personally have a goal of not having to do that because it's fussy, really kind of terrifying work to do. So in doing this part, I'm going to show you how you set the buttonhole foot up for every time you want to use it. Using that same knob in the back that you used to get the buttonhole foot to its furthest retracted position, now you want to turn it so that it is more or less its furthest forward position. It doesn't have to be exact. There's no little sensor in here that's talking to a computer like there is on the new buttonhole feet. So you don't have to worry about that. What you really are after is you want to be able to see clearly. I don't know how well this is going to show up on the video, but if you have one of these, it'll be really obvious. There are these little marked alignment points on the top of the buttonhole foot itself, like the actual thing that's going to cover the fabric. You want to align the top of the buttonhole that you're going to make with this very topmost mark that is on the foot. It's white enamel on black, so it's easy to see in real life, even if you can't see it so well on the video. You want to turn it. You want to turn this whole thing so that the needle is more or less lined up with that mark. Okay, so we're going to do that, and I'm going to do this part of the demonstration with just the waistband of a pair of jeans that have kind of come to the end of their life and are going to be turned into something else, but are perfect for this. So I'm going to put it a little bit further back from where the buttonhole is now, under here. And let's just say we wanted to put the buttonhole here. All right, so for purposes of demonstration, I'm tightening the foot pressure to about where it would be for normal sewing. And I'm going to turn this back to the bottommost point, and I'm going to run it with nothing in it, just so you can see and hear what happens. You hear how this does not seem to be running smoothly. You're getting uneven clicks. That's how you know whether or not this buttonhole foot is going to be able to do what it needs to do. You want to hear it, yeah, see it, hung there again. You don't want to hear any of those little hangs. Whenever that's happening, let me just readjust this a little bit. Whenever you hear that happen as you're testing out the buttonhole foot as we are right now, that is a sign to you that the foot pressure is too much. You've got too much foot pressure. So I'm going to run it again. And we're just going to listen. And let's see, we've got those skips there. We don't want those skips. So I'm going to lower the pressure and keep running the buttonhole foot until it can make the full circuit without skipping. There we go. See, it got past that spot where it was skipping before. And this is what you're going to want to do with everything before you start running it under the buttonholer for the first time. Check it out. Make sure that you're not hearing any skips in the action, and lower the foot pressure until it stops skipping. All right, so once you've got that done, you can actually sew a real buttonhole. So let's do that. Okay, I have got the old Singer all threaded up and ready to go. Before I go any further, I should mention these old-timey Singer buttonhole makers have been in production in one shape or form since the 1800s. If you have any kind of old all-metal Singer, Kenmore, Pfaff, White, any of these old-time all-metal sewing machines, there is probably a version of this foot that works with your machine. So don't feel like this is the only one, and if you don't have a Singer 201, you can't use it. All right, I'm going to do the demonstration on this bit of front placket that I have from fitting muslin that I don't need anymore. When you're doing this in general, you're going to want to mark the would essentially be the bottom of the buttonhole on here. The lighter purple line is center front from what this was, and these darker purple lines are the ones that I'm going to use to line everything up on. So just like I did before, I want to turn the buttonhole foot so that it is in its position where it's closest to us and the needle is about lined up with that top alignment mark. I'm going to bring my material under here. And you'll notice there are also alignment marks in the center at the top and bottom of the foot. So I want to get the center front line lined up on those. I want to get this buttonhole bottom line essentially lined up with the other lines that are here on the side. And then what I want to do is I want to grab a piece of tearaway stabilizer. Sulky brand is the one that's most commonly found here in the US, and probably the one that you're going to want to use. Slide it under this whole kit and caboodle. Bring your buttonhole foot back down. Make sure you still got your alignment. Turn the knob in the back so that we're at the bottom of the action. And, oh my heavens, we're going to sew something. Start the machine. You want to do this on a fairly slow speed, and with the needle down in the work, after about 5 or 6 stitches, snip that part off. You're not going to need it. And now, just run the machine. I like to run the machine 2 times over the buttonhole. It gives it really nice coverage, raises up the stitch a little bit, and really makes it look like a hand-sewn buttonhole. So 2 times around, we are done. Bring the needle up and out of the work. Up comes the foot. Pull it out to the left as you normally would. And voila. If you are in a hurry and just want to get this done with, you can just snip this thread, snip that thread, put a little fray check on it and call it done. I personally am a fan of pulling that last bit of thread through from the front to the back. And I'm not going to show you now because you all know what this looks like. And then I'll take a hand needle and work these 2 strands 3 times around the very top here at the back and snip that right down to the end, like that. And you don't need any fray check in that instance, and it will really keep that there forever. Some other tips for success I'd like to offer are: consider using a ballpoint needle whenever you're doing any kind of buttonhole on any kind of machine. Nothing is more prone to snagging any kind of material when you're running it through the machine, quite like any kind of buttonhole foot is. The old ones, the new ones, it doesn't matter. There's just something about those tiny little stitches and that very small space that they're working that just really wants to snag the fabric. If you've used a print or if you've used something shiny where a pull on a warp or a weft thread is really going to show, it'll ruin everything. You'll have gotten to the very end and you're putting on the buttonholes and there you go. All the hard work to make that print look nice is going to be ruined. So to forestall that unfortunate outcome, I use the ballpoint needle for these buttonholes. Yeah, all right, so there you go. That is how to attach and use these old vintage Singer buttonhole feet. I hope that you leave this video knowing something more about that than you did before.